The day I found my only road blocked by HOA Karen's ridiculous scheme, I knew she underestimated me. What she didn't know was that the more someone tries to corner a farmer, the more creative the farmer becomes. She wanted to control the land around me. She wanted to squeeze me until I sold. Instead, I dug a tunnel under her whole operation and uncovered corruption so deep it shook the community. The farm had been in my family for 3 generations. It sat just outside a shiny new HOA development that wrapped around one side of my property. At first, the neighborhood didn't bother me. New families meant new faces and a bit more noise, but nothing I couldn't live with. Then Karen moved in. She wasn't the HOA president, but she ran the board in everything except title. The others followed her lead because it was easier than fighting her. My property had only one usable access road. It wasn't much, but it was mine. It cut between 2 lots the developer sold years ago, and it was recorded on every document related to the area. Everyone knew I needed it. Someone like Karen saw that as an opportunity. It started with minor complaints. She didn't like the tractors coming through. She didn't like dust on her yard. She didn't like the smell of hay, which made me wonder why she moved next to a farm in the first place. I ignored all of it. But ignoring Karen was, in her eyes, a challenge. The morning everything changed, I drove up to the entrance and found a brand new iron gate stretching across the road. It had an HOA sign bolted to the front and padlocks on both sides. There was no warning, no notice, and no permission. Just a gate blocking the only way in or out. At first, I tried to stay calm. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone approved it without checking the maps. But when I checked the HOA website and saw Karen's name on the Access Control Initiative, I knew exactly what she was doing. She wanted to force my hand. She thought that blocking me out would pressure me to sell the land she had been hinting about for months. I wasn't selling, and I wasn't playing her little game. A normal person might have called the county and fought it in court. I did call, but the answers I got made it clear that something bigger was going on. Records were suddenly missing. Permits were pending review. Every office I contacted gave me the same quiet, nervous energy, the kind that suggested someone had been leaning on them. Karen wasn't just a loud HOA bully. She had money behind her. Someone in that HOA had been digging deep into their pockets to buy influence. So I made a plan. If they blocked the road above ground, then I'd make one underground. It sounded ridiculous, but the land around my farm wasn't rock or clay. It was soft, workable soil. My grandfather used it for root cellars and storm shelters. The ground practically invited tunnels. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even tell my cousins who helped me on the farm. I claimed I was upgrading the irrigation system, bought equipment under farm expenses, and got to work at night when the homes near the ridge were asleep. The tunnel took weeks. I reinforced every section, lined the path with boards, and mapped the route carefully. It started inside my barn and ended past the HOA boundary on an old easement road the county never removed from the records. It wasn't convenient, but it gave me freedom while I gathered evidence of what Karen and her little empire were doing. While digging, I kept an eye on the blocked road. Cameras went up, sensors, motion lights. She acted like she was securing Fort Knox. At the same time, the HOA started sending letters claiming I owed maintenance fees for the land the road ran through, fees I never signed up for, fees they hoped I would pay so they could use that as proof I belonged to the HOA. It didn't work. Every letter strengthened my case. Every camera she installed added to the pile of violations. And every complaint she filed about my farm traffic, all of which was now secretly underground, showed how desperate she was getting. One night, while checking the surface road, I spotted Karen holding a flashlight and pointing at the ground like she was investigating tracks. Except there were none. She didn't understand how I was moving equipment in and out. She thought I was sneaking around her rules. In a way, I was, but not the way she imagined. The final piece came from county records. After weeks of politely pushing, one clerk finally spoke up. Off the record, They mentioned someone from the HOA board had filed altered documents. They were trying to quietly remove my road from official maps and reclassify it as part of the neighborhood's private property. If they pulled it off, they could legally trap me on my own land. That was the moment I knew the tunnel was more than a workaround. It was my leverage. I gathered every letter, every recorded call, every denied request, and every unauthorized modification I found on the road. Then I added photos of the tunnel entrance inside my barn. Not to reveal how I moved, but to show I was forced to take the extreme route because the HOA blocked a legal access road. I walked into the county office with a binder so thick the clerk's eyebrows lifted the moment I set it down. Investigators were assigned within the week. When they arrived at the HOA meeting and laid out the charges, the look on Karen's face was unforgettable. She didn't panic at first. She tried to bark orders and accuse me of harassment, but when they mentioned document tampering, misuse of funds, and illegal gating of public access, her voice cracked. The board wasn't innocent either. They let her take over. They signed off on things without reading them. They trusted her. Now they were tied to the fallout. The gate came down fast. County workers cut through the locks and hauled the whole structure away. My road was restored on the official maps. The tunnel stayed where it was, a secret reminder of how far I had to go to protect what was mine. Karen ended up removed from the board and fined more than she ever expected. Some neighbors apologized, others pretended they never supported her. The corruption inside the HOA ran deeper than anyone wanted to admit, but shining light on it forced real change. As for me, I kept farming. I kept the tunnel too, not because I needed it anymore, but because it stood as proof that the best way to deal with people who try to bury you is to dig deeper than they ever could. And if you enjoyed the story, hit like, subscribe, and tell me which country you're watching from. More stories are coming soon.